One.
Hi, I'm Katie.
And I'm Janine. And we're girls that just want to tell stories.
We are hosting today. We're two 50-year-old women. We began our friendship back in 1980. Oh my gosh, as innocent, pimply-faced preteen kids in the halls of Petaluma High School.
And now we're coming to you from Southern California and Southwest Florida to talk about our friendship and its ebbs and flows over 3,000 miles and 40 years, and inspire you to reconnect with a friend today.
I know, it's crazy, right? Looking at how long we've been friends and carrying the torch for one another. It's been fun. And what made us want to do our podcast? I think just simply enough, a way to reflect and celebrate, our successes, as friends. It's a testament to both of us, I believe, if you can remain friends for 40 years, even though we aren't physically in the same location.
Right. Well, and I think the circumstance of this COVID pandemic and being in place and maybe having more time to be reflective, at least got me thinking about our friendship and really got me thinking about, what do I want to be doing? What can I be doing with my friends when I can't see them? We were scheduled to get together right in April, and it's an annual thing that we do, and we weren't able to do it this year, and we were super disappointed. And maybe I think for me, that's when I really the wheels started spinning, and I was spending more time thinking about friends and friendship. And when it's one of those things, when it's somewhat taken in a way, we realize maybe we've taken it for granted, or we want to figure out what can we do in the situation that we're in. And for me, that's what led to this idea, at least, of a podcast where maybe other people out there right now need some help in reminding about the value of friendship and how important it can be in your life, even if you can't physically be together with each other in the same location.
Correct. And when we were in discussion about what we would talk about, one of the things that was mentioned that was really important and interesting too, how we've evolved, is just the communication, right? Back in the day, when we communicated, we'd write little letters of the classroom and leave them in the locker or pass them in the hallways. And then, that advances to, maybe email and phone calls. And now one way that we've connected with our girlfriends is through Zoom calls, which, technology is a fantastic thing that really helps keep friendships alive easier, I believe. It makes it really easy to communicate.
Yeah, it's really been in a lot of ways and the funny part is, it existed before. We could have been doing some of this before, and
Sure.
We were still kind of in the emailing, phone calling kind of space. And so I love being able to see people's faces and their expressions and
hear their laugh.
Yeah, exactly. So so let's maybe start with those hallways and locker encounters. And I think, I'm hoping those of you listening might be interested in hearing this, our story of how we met. When I've been talking to people about their friendships, I am actually, there are a lot of people out there who made their first friends in preschool and elementary school and junior high school like we did. And it's really fun to hear how you connect first with somebody. And so we wanted to share that in our first episode with you today. So Katie, what are your first memories of our meeting?
Well, simply enough, with last names that both begin with the letter L, it was proximity, right? And I don't know that, I believe a lot of times too, it's just happenstance. I remember we connected, we said hello, and that was it. We were instant friends. I always just wanted to be with you and do things with you, and we never really talked about it. It's like, okay, I pick you. Let's go. Let's have fun. And I just really believe that sometimes maybe the universe pushes you to whom you're supposed to be with. And I just feel that we've been very lucky. It's been very easy for us. I mean, that's one of the keys to our success, I believe. It's just been very easy. Not a lot of drama. And I don't know that that's the case for everyone, but that's the case for us. I mean, it just, once that moment where we met, we just never looked back. What about you?
Well, I like what you said it about, in a way, it was a decision or a choice to look at someone and say, I want to be your friend. And then you work on it. Then you do the things that enable you to be friends and stay friends. You trust each other with secrets, and you do fun things together, and you take each other home to meet your families, and all those sorts of things happen. But the first thing you do, like you said, is you really just look at another person and say, yeah, sure, I'll be your friend, you know. And that was kind of the case. And of course, I still haven't recovered from the trauma of the lockers that we had. And I still have dreams like that. I can't get my locker open. And as I'm older, and the connection with those dreams have to do with, you know, deadlines and projects for work that are due. But, you know, we had those kind of turn locks, and for the life of me, I couldn't do it. And you often were my savior, where I was starting to sweat and freak out because I was a rule follower and didn't want to be late for class. And you would come to my rescue. And I think sometimes I even just put my stuff in your locker, and then there would be no need to open my locker and we could get to class. But
you know, that is true. I think that we became locker mates, and that's just sort of the testimony that, yes, we are friends. We are now sharing a locker, among other things, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, so then you know, when it's been fun is we've been sharing together these memories. And one that stuck out for me, an early memory, was a bus ride home that the first time I went to your house, right? And I took the bus with you, and where I lived, I didn't take a bus. It was closer to school, and you took the bus into the country, which I laugh now, like it was like maybe 3 miles from the school. It wasn't like 50 miles, but you know, kids who have to take the bus are usually like not super huge fans of the bus. So at least I think you're kind of neutral on it, but I thought it was like riding in the limousine. I thought it was fun. I remember sitting in the back and, you know, bouncing along the road, which, you know, out there, the road wasn't as smooth as could be in the country, but, and then pulling up to, you know, the bus stop and getting off, and your house just being surrounded by, you know, land. And I remember a big tree in your yard, and one of the goofy things that we did early on, I don't really know if it was that very first day, but we, and it's funny because, again, everyone, remember, this was decades ago, and so there were no cell phones, and even taking pictures wasn't an easy thing to do. And
you had to have film and a camera.
Yeah, and we took those pictures under the tree. Do you remember where that was one of the ones we dug out, and what was your comment on the t-shirts? Do you remember? Remember the t-shirts we were wearing?
Oh, well, I don't remember what comment I made, but yeah, we were so 1980s.
Yeah.
With our little, I think it had seagulls flying over the ocean or something.
Well, and mine had a skier. It was some sort of skiing t-shirt, and I was no skier. But of course, the humor in the picture was, you know, at least for me, my hair, which, you know, because I had straight hair, I wanted curly hair, and I had this perm that, you know, made me look like a clown. You know, that's just funny to really look back on and think about as well. But
well, I hated the bus. Yeah. And I think in my notes I wrote, I hated the fucking bus. So excuse people that don't like the F-bomb, but I hated riding the bus. I remember my first morning standing in line to get on the bus with all of the other neighbor kids. And I just remember walking on the bus, and it was like loud and people in the back. It was like a party, and I was so scared to be on that damn bus. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it just felt like forever. I felt like it was an hour to school and an hour home, which it wasn't. But as a kid, you know, you just think, oh my God, I'm going into the death trap to get on this bus, and will I ever see my house again? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and we spent so much time at each other's houses. Like, I feel pretty much if I wasn't at my house, I was at your house, and vice versa.
I agree.
And you know,
I was just going to say, it's funny because we're so connected now with our cell phones, texting, calling, and we didn't have a problem then. But I always think, how did we like know to hook up and meet up, and you had to leave a message, and there'd be like a little cryptic note saying, oh, Janine called, or, you know, call her back and you're going to meet here. It just, you know, we did it, we survived. And I really believe it was a more innocent time, not having a phone attached to you at all times. I mean, I think there's a huge freedom in that, and I appreciate that. And I'm really glad that we grew up that way. But looking back now, it's funny to think, wow, how did we coordinate without a cell phone?
And I think, you know, it required some planning. Like, you know, if we were going to do something on a Saturday, we had to work it out while we were seeing each other at school. I think school, as much as a place to learn, was a place to, you know, manage our social calendar and social life, right? And
right.
And so it did require intentionality, which sometimes now I think we tend to leave things last minute, thinking, oh, I'll just reach out, and I mean, the spontaneity is good too, but sometimes I think then time goes by quickly, and then you haven't talked to a friend or met a friend or connected with a friend in a longer period of time, because you get lazy in a way in terms of making those plans, because you do kind of have immediate access to do it, but people aren't immediately available. We all have busy lives, so we should probably know better than that. But
Right.
you know, it might be one thing that people think about with if they're wanting to make their friendships, you know, deeper or just more meaningful. Maybe you plan every Sunday to call a certain friend, or maybe you plan once a week to do a Zoom, or you plan something in a way that's just like you plan to go to an appointment with yourself, right? You know, especially right now when it's not easy to necessarily meet up with people, at least for now. And so, and having that, just like our trips, having that to look forward to know, oh, we're going to talk on Sunday, I think can really be helpful to people's just state of mind and well-being. And you know, and when we were talking about why should we do this, one of the things that really stuck out for me is the well-being part of it, right? That in the research, that close connection, close relationship, friendships like ours help you live longer. And I feel like people spend a lot of time worrying about exercising and, you know, eating right and their health, especially, you know, we're in that middle age kind of area, group. But I think one thing that they kind of maybe don't pay as much attention to are their friendships. And that can be as important. I read this one study, I don't know if I told you, where loneliness has the same health effect on you as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And I just about fell off my chair when I read that. And right now, loneliness is really on the rise for people, right? People are literally isolated in their, you know, spaces, and friends can help with that. And so that.
And it's so simple. I mean, really, it is simple. And it's funny how you were talking about like making a phone date. I had a friend in Montana that I have a phone date on Saturday with a friend. And I thought, well, why don't you just pick up the phone and call her? But it's true. Like, you set time aside so there's no distractions, and you really can focus and think about that person. And just recently with one of our close friends, I just wanted to hear her voice. Email is great, but like, I want to hear her laugh. I want to hear the inflection in her voice. So I said, okay, when can we have a conversation? And it couldn't be till, you know, maybe it took us 2 days till we can actually have time to speak on the phone. But it was so, as you said, well, the well-being I felt. It was wonderful to hear her voice and to hear her laughing. And so, yes, if we can stave off loneliness with a phone call, then I'm all for it.
Right.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. And I hear your little furry friend. We should tell, we know, we've also learned in our lives to make friends with dogs. We both have dogs that we love. So tell our audience about your dog, Katie, and I'll tell them.
First of all, I'm the person that I never thought I would be, because I thought, oh my God, who's going to have a dog that they have more pictures on their phone of the dog than their spouse or their children, or, you know, have little bark day parties for their pets. I'm like, yeah, right, never. We we were actually living in Montana, and we'd had a dog for 15 years, little Dutchie, and he died. And not that I didn't like Dutch, but he was a hunting dog. So he was more into, going out with Joe and hunting and running around in the mountains. And when he passed, it was really hard. I had a really hard time, and I was surprised. And I remember walking to the mailbox one day, and a neighbor came up, and she had this darling little Yorkie, and he ran up and like put his little paws on my leg, and I thought, oh my God, I'm in love. And after that, I sort of had this Yorkie thing in my mind, and my hairdresser at the time had a Yorkie, and we began talking, and she hooked me up with Montana-made Yorkies in Hamilton, Montana. And we drove 4 hours one direction to get him. And I'm not kidding. He's 8 years old, and he is just the absolute love of my life. So yes, and people that live alone, there's a huge benefit to having a pet, right? It's somebody other than yourself to take care of, and you can go out on walks so that you get that health benefit of exercise and fresh air, and maybe going to the dog park and meeting other people. So yes, there are many, many benefits of having a pet in your life, which I never thought I'd be that person.
Well, me either, right? You know my family history with
we never
pets.
had a pet.
Lack of pets, exactly. And I would say it's a core foundation of our friendship belief is that friends can come in four-legged forms as well.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because growing up, no pets for us, and it wasn't until my son, who bugged me for about 5 years, finally convinced me it was time to get a family pet, that I got our dog, Dakota, who's a little Shih Tzu and 10 years old now, and just the love of our family. And I would have never, ever imagined that I was the person who asks if I can bring my dog when people do invite me over or come to visit. Yes. Can I bring the dog? I know you do that too. So at least with each other, we don't even have to ask if that was the case. So
I know, but I think anyone that knew you when you got a dog, we were, what is she doing with a pet? Oh, but it's so true.
Yeah. So I think let's share a little bit with our audience about our current life state, where we're at, because life has many seasons, and the fun part about a long-term friendship is that we've experienced many of those stages and seasons with each other, and our stories will certainly go into those different stages of life that we've shared together, becoming working women and becoming married and becoming moms and all of that. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about, you mentioned Joe, so tell us a little bit more about Joe and your family, and then and I can share a little bit about my life situation right now too.
Well, we, of course, being from California first, and then moving to Montana for 11 years, and now being in Florida, we've sort of left kids along the way, if you will. We have, Candace, my stepdaughter's in California, and my stepson Kyle is still in Montana, and our youngest, he is here in Southwest Florida with Joe and I. He works with Joe. So, and he just moved out, so we actually have an empty nest again, which is good for everyone. He needs his space, and we need our space. And actually, it's interesting because when you're raising a family, you don't ever think your kids are going to grow up and move away or be adults. You just feel like you're going to be on this hamster wheel forever. And then when it happens, it's really kind of amazing. And I can see how, couples that don't really kind of keep in touch with one another or check in throughout the years, if the kids are your only anchor, right? If you don't have friends or a job or anything else, it can be challenging. So I think for us, we've been lucky that we've sort of stayed in tune with one another all of these years. And now we look forward to our time together. In fact, it's funny. Sometimes I feel like it's just us at home. Like, what's wrong? Like, it's just us. We can do whatever we want. We can cook dinner. We don't have to cook dinner. So
yeah,
I'm still working full time, as is Joe. Her, retirement's still a little ways off for us, but I think we're in a good place.
And how many years have you guys been married? I know I should know off the top. 27. Okay. Well, yes, that's a milestone in and of itself. And you guys do have a great relationship. And, I was in the wedding, and, part of all of that experience and all these years, we've had lots of fun together, all the three of us, for sure.
Well, you're the reason that we're even together, really. You're the reason that it all kind of came together.
Maybe we'll get Joe on to tell his story, side of the story sometime.
Someday.
Yeah, so we are, again, similarly at that midlife state, I'll call it, where I have a business and I'm still working full time as well. But my son just went off to college, and literally today, he's coming home for Thanksgiving break. So super excited to see him. But my focus for the last 18 years has been on raising him, and I went through a divorce when he was a little one, and now have a steady beau and man in my life, John, who's awesome, and he's got a couple grown boys as well. So like you, we're really at that place where the most of the time it's the two of us now, and we have opportunity to spend time together, but we also have an opportunity to really reconnect with friends, right? When you're raising a family, one of the things that I think slides sometimes is some of the friendships, right? That when you are making dinner for 5 people and you have to do all the laundry and you've got to get school projects done and drive carpool, and finding time to even call a friend for a mom or a dad for that matter, can be hard. And so I do think that's another part of where we're at, this refresh place of, wow, we can like chat for 2 hours on a Saturday, or we can do things that with our friends that might have been a little bit harder when we were full-time raising kids. And look, we both know that just because your kids get over 18 doesn't mean you're not parenting anymore, and they still take
That is true.
Still take your love and your energy and all of that. But we do have this opportunity now to look at friendships. And I know I'm sure in a future episode we'll talk even more about we'll share with you other examples of friendships, but one of the ones that's a role model for me and that well is my mom. And we were just talking yesterday, she has this group of friends that they are in their 70s. They have been tight for such a long time, and I really think that their longevity and their lifespan can be partly attributed to this really close bond that this group of women shares. And that's what we really want to promote in our show, is just sharing stories around women and men and their friendships and what they've meant in their lives, and where we can, maybe share a tip or two about what it takes to do that. And at the beginning, before we even hit record, Katie, you were saying, not everybody has, quote unquote, old friends, meaning longtime friends.
Sure.
And maybe you moved a lot, and maybe there was a point in time you didn't have the time to focus on friendships. But the great thing about friendship is it's never too late to start friendships, right? We can, and that could be another episode. We can talk about newer friends that we've made. You've moved to different states, and each time had to establish a new set of friends. And it's one of those things, like, I don't think consciously always we think about what we're role modeling for our kids. But I remember at one point in time, I'd made a newer friend here, and I thought, oh, this is good for Connor to see that you can make new friends at any age, right? That,
sure.
And friends come in all kinds of, and I think the more mature we get, the span of age of friends that you have actually expands, right? Like I have friends that are 10 or 15 years older and 10 or 15 years younger. And
correct.
That's a really exciting part of friendship too, I think.
Well, one of the ways that, when you're raising your children, you meet a lot of people through your kids. And that's one piece that we're missing here, is when we move to Florida, there aren't really any young kids that are around, playing, and you meet the parents like we did when we were in Montana or whatever. But I think it just forces us to sort of step outside our comfort zones a little bit, so you really can foster new friendships. I mean, you make friends with the people that you work with, and I know for Joe, he belongs to a couple of different fishing clubs, or through your hobbies you make new friendships. So, and one point that I wanted to bring up on a book that I had just finished reading, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. There was a gentleman that they had chronicled in there, and he had said, you know, your family is great, but sometimes you just want to have a friend that's your age, that understands you, that has been through some of the life experiences that you've been through, that, you know, that you really feel like understands you and where you are in your life. And I thought that was very interesting, because your families are, of course, a huge part of who you are, and they, you know, supply you with, you know, the love and the support and the things that you need. But friends they fill a huge, very important need. And I don't think we're ever too old for that.
Yeah.
I know I'm not.
Me either. And that's why we really want to encourage those of you listening to reach out and connect with a friend, or you know, maybe seek out a new friend, or especially right now, there might be someone near you that they need a friend in a way that you could really be there for them as well. So we hope that, you know, you've gotten a little taste today of some of the different things that we think are important around friendship, and we have lots more to share, and we have so many stories. We wanted to start out pretty safe and G-rated, you know, but we've had some wild times as 20-something-year-olds and you know, and teenagers for that matter, and our plan is to sprinkle in stories from the past and connect to current things that are going on in our lives at this season or this stage of life. So any final thoughts, Katie, that you have?
Yeah, I want our listeners to take away that, just to take the step to reach out to a friend, either an old friend or an attempt to make a friend, because it really does fill you up in ways that you maybe don't even know that you're missing until you reconnect or connect with someone. So
Awesome.
I hope that we inspire you today.
And we hope that you'll come back and listen again for our next episode. And we hope that you'll share this podcast with other people that you think could use a little dose of friendship and talk around friendship. We're going to be here with you, and we hope as we go along, we'll start to hear some of your stories as well about friendship and the value that they've brought to your life. Thanks.
Indeed. Thank you. Bye, everyone.